Hello everyone! Welcome aboard the Thundercoat's non-profit digital voyage, a show where we talk about tech, social and public good, and how you can get involved. I'm your host, Imelia, and I hope everyone can sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. If you're ready, let's set sail! And now, on to our episode. Hello everyone, welcome to today's episode, and today I'm joined with a guest where when I asked the friends of this guest, they describe him with a lot of positives, so I will list them out. So, some of the adjectives I would say used to describe this person is jovial, bright, outgoing, extroverted, open-minded, and the one thing that really captured my attention is that they told me about how passionate this guest is about the social sector. But I could go on and on about this person, but instead of me doing that, why don't we have the guest introduce himself? Please go ahead.
Hi everyone. It's so good to be here. My name is Joel. I am quite an outgoing guy. So a bit about me is that I am a degree graduate from Sunway Psychology. I'm now going to start my job very soon as a teacher, a primary school teacher, and I'm going to be juggling 3 subjects at the same time, so that's crazy. Besides that, I'm just happy to be here and can't wait to get started on whatever going to happen today.
I'm glad to have you here. Alright, you are a student from Sunway University. So I heard that you graduated in December, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So that's very recent actually. So congratulations. I feel like anyone who graduated university with successfully deserves that. And I also heard that you were a part of the student council. So
That's right.
Can you talk about that a little bit? How your experience as part of the student council?
Alright, so in the student council, I was representing the international student body, which is quite funny because I am a local student, the only local student in the international student section of the student council. What I did was pretty much, I would go around talking to the different international students around Sunway. Right, so there are different organizations, and my job is to basically be the bridge between those different groups in Sunway, right? Those different foreign body groups, and also with the management. I will go for town halls, I will go to listen to their different talks, get to find out about who these people are, and then I would bring up the concerns that the international students have to the management during the upper management meetings, all the senior level stuff. Besides organizing events and supporting the overall student body throughout Sunway.
That sounds like a pretty busy life. How did you was balancing that with your student life difficult? How did you find it?
It was crazy. I mean, cause straight up, I had to juggle my student council life with my own student life, and at this time also I was also a youth leader in my church. So I was balancing 3 different things. I think, was I the best at balancing it? No. But I balanced it enough just to get by and just to survive for a year and a half. It was a crazy time, yeah.
I mean, would you say the experiences that you have, despite how busy you were, would you say it as rewarding though? Because it sounds like a very crazy, schedule to lead, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, it is crazy. But I would definitely say that it is very rewarding because the hours that you put into this kind of work, the late nights, the late days in school that you stay back, right? All of it comes and it builds towards the common goal of trying to help improve the livelihoods of people around you. And in my case, my job and my goal was to really help the international students in Sunway University.
Right.
So, at the end of the day, I know that, hey, I made a difference, or even if it's a small difference, I made a step towards helping the situation become better in Sunway.
Right. And also, well, I was talking to your friend who recommended you to be a guest on the show. She was talking about Joel's the kind of guy who's like very active. He does a lot of things, and not to mention that he's the type of person who has a lot of connections. So I wanna ask her like, what do you mean by that? So when she said, oh, he knows a lot of people. So would you say that?
Yes, definitely. I had this joke in Sunway where every single day I would walk in campus, right? There
Right.
isn't one day where I will go without saying hi to someone I know from somewhere else. So I would randomly say hi to a person, not because it's random, because I know them from like whether it's outside of school, whether it's from like a sports activity or a church
Right.
activity or like social welfare activities. Like I would somehow know them. And then yeah, my friend would always complain like, Joel, you gotta stop saying hi to everyone. Yeah, I'm like it's not like I'm trying to be funny, It's just like I know them. So,
It's not a bad thing, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, oh wow, that sounds like wow. But like, like from my own personal experiences, like university, like when you're in university, you know a lot of people. Has there been an experience where someone says hi to you, and then you say hi back automatically, but then you think to yourself, do I know this person? And why do they know me? Has that ever happened to you? Or you just know them?
Several times. A lot of times, right, they say hi to me first, and then I will say hi, and then I'll blank out my mind because I will have to search the deepest corners of my head to who is this person, what is their name, and how do I know them?
Your directory.
Yeah, it's like I have to go and search through my brain. But whenever I approach this kind of situation, I just stop them. I'll try and catch up with how they're doing at the moment, and then from there I see, oh, this person is doing this now. That means somewhere before they were. Oh, okay. Then I draw the lines. Yeah, that helps me.
Wow. Oh my god. I mean, I'm sure knowing a lot of people has its own set of advantages, I would say. Right. So yeah, moving on. You also have like a YouTube channel. That I managed to check it out. It goes by it's actually your own name, right?
Yeah.
Channel.
I changed it, right? Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit? Like, when did you start it, and like why did you start a YouTube channel essentially?
So for me, I started off a YouTube channel initially as a place for me to just create whatever I want. So primarily, most of what I created was just song covers because I like to sing and I like to play guitar and music instruments. So I would do covers. And then as the years came by, I had different video projects. So I would work with different groups of people or different companies to help me videos. So I've worked with Keller Williams Malaysia.
Wow.
I've worked with Happy Arc. I've worked with Oasis Place. So different places, they will ask me to make different videos. And then I thought, oh yeah, this is a great place to at least showcase some of the videos. And yeah, it just became a place for me to just share my experiences in video format lah.
I see. Do you have like I don't know what's the correct word for this. Do you have like a vision to how your YouTube channel is gonna grow in the future, or is it more like a hobby kind of thing, would you say?
For me, it started off as a hobby.
Right.
I think for me now, it's just there are two things in my mind. I guess it's just number one, I want my YouTube channel to be something I can look back on and be like, hey, I did this, between my 5 or 7 years ago. And I have progressed from this level of videos to this level of videos.
Right,
that's one goal, to show that I've grown. And the other goal for me is just I want to give back by giving advice. So my idea is like, I want to give tips. I want to give inputs, insights into the future for those who are like curious or scared. And a lot of it is based off my youth group. Because I lead a bunch of teenagers in my church, and pretty much a lot of the things I do tends to be based on them. So my thoughts would be, okay, right now my youth are 17 years old. They are either in SPM or they're going to be in college soon. So how can I best prepare them? And so I would do a lot of my videos, a lot of my thoughts based on these. Yeah, it's like I'm an uncle, I'm a dad uncle, but like, I'm 22.
I see.
So yeah, that's just how I roll with it lah.
I mean, when you describe that you want to be the kind of person who can give advice to people, I guess like to guide them in a sense. Does this have anything to do with the fact that you're gonna work as a teacher. Does that have anything to do with that? Like, did you want to become a teacher with this in mind, or did it just happen?
Well, the teacher job wasn't something that, I was set on from doing ever since my degree started. I think for me, the teacher job, it started off as an opportunity because I'll be working in Johor as a teacher. And at the same time too, right, because I'm from KL, I'm going to go Johor. I'll be staying with my grandparents. So the idea is that when I work as a teacher in Johor for the next 2 years or so, I will be staying with my grandparents. I'll get to spend time with them. Because they're quite old, they're 80, 85, and they're in their latest stages of their life. So I thought one of the ways that I could give back to them or to really appreciate them is to, stay with them, spend time with them, at the same time working as a teacher, right? Getting to work with youth again and getting to work with music is like, oh, this is a very nice bonus. As in, it catches the most of my hopes for what I want to do in the future.
Wow, that sounds really impressive. It sounds like you really put a lot of thought into that. I just wow.
Yeah, it's not easy to relocate from your house to a land where it's a smaller town, smaller city, less people, and the overall population, at least in this town, Kluang, they're generally Chinese speaking, and I am a banana, so that's like the huge challenge for me.
How has that been for you so far?
So far, I think I survived China. The fact that I survived China for a month by myself with only my host, like the founders of the organization I was working for, who spoke English. I think after that experience, anything is possible. Yeah.
It's interesting when you say about, when you're moving to like a bigger city to a smaller one. I can sort of like relate to that, but for my situation it's actually reversed because I'm actually from Sarawak, and the city that I live is it's the main city of that state, but it's actually kind of sleepy. I always joke to my friends like the hometown that we live in is a place where people go to retire because it's really sleepy. And then I moved to KL, and it's very different and it's very definitely more busy, I would say. So. I can definitely relate to that, changing of environments. It's just like in the opposite direction, I would say.
You're from Kuching, is it?
Yes.
Nice. My mom's from Miri, so I can totally understand the pace difference. It's like because everything's so slow. Come back here, everything's like fast. You're just like, wow, okay, everyone's so fast here.
Yeah, exactly. I guess before we move on, do you want to do a little shout out of your channel here in this podcast,
my channel is Joel Wong. I do life one step at a time. So if you are curious to what I do in my free time or what I'm going through, then head on to Joel Wong. That's pretty much the name of the channel. Yeah.
One day if you change it, let me know so I can update this version.
Sure. We'll do definitely.
Alright, so anyway, to segue into sort of the main topic of today's episode, you mentioned briefly about Happy Art when we were talking about your YouTube channel. So as I understand, Happy Art is like a volunteering project a program project that you took part in China. Maybe you would like to talk about it, what is it exactly and when did you participate in it?
Okay, Ken, sure. So Happy Art is run by two Malaysians, Diane and Martin. They are from Johor also, and they basically moved to China to start this program. So the idea of the program, the main focus is to provide free tuition for the underprivileged in Kunming. So recap is, the short story is, Kunming is in the Lijia region, if I'm not mistaken. And that's basically southwest China. I could be wrong, but I know it's in the southern region in China. It's not a very long flight, but and basically the city is like, he mentioned a square. It's a big square, right? In the middle of the square is the poor people, the low cost housing. Outside this tiny square is all the big tall buildings, the apartments, the very well developed. So it's a very interesting city because outside it's developed, and then when you go into the central area, it becomes less developed, it becomes more like urban poor. So the idea was that some of these kids, they struggle in school, and one way that the government can give back is to open this tuition center, so they can come in at any time for help with tuition, to read books, to play games, basically like a community for the poor kids in this area.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting how you describe the city as in like the outer areas. I would say it's like developed, and then when you go closer inside, it gets like you mentioned, like people are more less privileged. I would say, is that the correct term for that?
Sort of. Technically, there are people that come from outside the city, and they travel in and they know to stay. So the most convenient place to stay is in the middle, which is like cheapest but also urban poor lah, right? It's not very developed. That's
very because usually when you talk about urban cities, it's usually the other way around. Like the city center is more developed, and then when you go out, it's like the development is kind of like it differs. How did it end up to be like the opposite direction?
How did it end up?
What's the history behind it?
I think there was a history behind it. I'm not very too sure exactly how, but I do know that it used to be a certain sector of the city. Like, the whole city used to be like low developed, right? And then this part was like a market area, low cost area. And then as the city developed, this part just stayed the same. Like it didn't continue developing, because like the market was there, all the smaller shops were there, all the smaller houses were there. So they just continued to remain there while the other parts of the city around it started to develop.
That's very interesting. I'll definitely look it up later. This sounds like an interesting read. When exactly did you when did you join this program, and like how did you first hear about it?
Okay, so I'll start from how I heard about it.
Right.
Basically, my dad is he donates to this group called Wycliffe, and one of the people that Wycliffe is supporting is Martin and Diane in China. So I basically heard about these two Malaysians in China running this organization.
Right.
And pretty much he was like, "Hey Joel, if there's a chance to go to China, would you want to go to China?" And without thinking twice, I just said yes. And a month later, I met the people who were running the program in Malaysia. Right. And it was August of 2018. I flew to China.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just before the big pandemic.
yeah, definitely. Just before the major pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many people were in that program? Was it just you, or is it with a group of like students, or?
So how the program worked was that there are 5 full-time staff in Happy Arc, and they are all they're all workers who are being employed under the government, right? And these 5, they will coordinate and they will collaborate with the different universities and colleges around the Kunming area. Because how it works is that the university, so there's like a degree for social services in China. That's an actual degree. And so these students will come over to this Happy Art to volunteer their time. And not just these students, but there will also be different schools from overseas. So some of the schools that come out from Singapore will send a group of their college students, I think that they're poly students, into this area for their cultural exchange volunteer work.
Right.
So there's only 5 main volunteers, but there's actually a lot of other volunteers. 5 main workers, but a lot of volunteers will come in to help with the tuition and stuff like that. Yeah.
So it's like an ongoing program, I'm assuming.
Ongoing.
Do people sign up? Do people sign up by batches, or is it like whenever it's convenient? I guess.
Most times they're usually in groups. Usually either by their university or by their college, which organizes it for them. I was just the lone guy, the one guy who decided to come all the way to China just to.
The lone guy.
Yeah. So most times they always prepare a whole group area to stay and all, but I was just like, hey, one guy coming over.
I mean, but given how outgoing you are, I'm assuming that you didn't have much trouble mixing around, or am I wrong?
Kind of. I think for me to mixing around the first week or so was very difficult. Because like in China, their Chinese is very different from Malaysia.
Right,
Like,
right.
Their H's and their a lot of throat kind of pronunciation. Else in Malaysia we use a different type of Chinese. So that was like the first language barrier. And second of all, I don't speak Chinese that much. So I literally had to hold a dictionary with me wherever I went. I had one hand a dictionary of my phone, and another hand it was like a small notepad for me to write down the words.
Oh my god!
As I went along, because I was like lost for the first week. I had no idea what I was doing. All I had to say was English.
Can you
English?
Can you read the characters? No.
I like the phone dictionary has a camera where I can take pictures of the words and then I translate. So that saved me. That really saved me. That kind of
thing. But how did you like communicate with the people then? Like, is it like you point to the dictionary and like, is the dictionary sort of like your intermediary of the communication or something like that?
Sort of, yeah. So what I did was, before I ask any question, I will go to the dictionary. I will make sure I have the sentence in my head prepared. Like, so I will go look for the words, and then I will come up to the people in charge of like, hey, I need help with this, or how do I do this? And then they will look at me funny and like, what are you talking? Then I'll point the dictionary to them. That's like, oh, that's what you mean. Okay, yeah.
But then, okay. I mean, I can sort of relate to that because like, you know, speaking like when you go to a foreign country, you don't speak the language. You often like prepare beforehand, you know, the sentence you want to say before you ask it. But the common problem, at least for me, is that you're not often prepared to what they will reply to you back and whether you understand it or not. Did you face this problem?
Yeah, definitely. The first week, the first week was the hardest, and then because no one else spoke English there, so after a week of just constantly listening and observing and just absorbing it, then I began to understand it a lot better. Yeah, because I really didn't have much chance to like English out with anybody else at the organization. So when you're alone, when you're by yourself in language wise, and it becomes like a survival instinct.
Right.
I had to absorb whatever I can so that I don't freak out like a sore thumb forever.
I can imagine.
I absorb everything just to, okay, I roughly get this what is trying to explain now. Or this word I heard it before. Okay, I roughly understand what's happening. Yeah.
So would you say your Chinese language skill definitely improved since you got back? How was that a few years ago though? So
yeah, it was like 3-4 years ago. It improved, but it's not relevant because the Chinese in China is for them, whereas the Chinese in Malaysia is more, I would say, at least in KL, it's more Cantonese influence, more Malaysian influence.
Right.
So whatever you learn there and you speak here, you know, a lot of Malaysians won't get it. But I came back from China, I tried to speak Chinese to my parents, and they were like, Joel, nobody in Malaysia uses these words. It's such weird Chinese.
So
it's like okay, the simplest example is like, okay, in Malaysia, we call a bicycle 脚车, which is leg car. That translation. Well, in China, you don't call it 脚车, you call it 自行车. So when I said like, you know, 自行车, they're like, oh, bicycle. But no one says it here. But nice try, yeah. That was like the 80% of my conversation with them. It's like I tried to speak Chinese, they're like, nope, we don't use it here, and then after time, it just fade away.
I mean, at least you can find comfort in the fact that like even if someone who's fluent in Chinese goes to China, there's a chance that they couldn't like communicate well as well. So you're not alone in that sense.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
All right. So Happy Art, can you like how long were you in China? Like how long was that program for you actually?
I was there for 1 month, so from August to September.
And can you walk us through like what's like your day-to-day during that program?
So what happens is, so I'll take public transport every day, about an hour and a half to get to the school.
Oh my God.
So that means like I have to walk like half an hour, take a bus for 40 minutes, and then walk another 10, 15, 20 minutes to the school. So,
by yourself?
Yeah, by myself.
Oh my God.
The first 2 days, one of the volunteers came to my area, and then she traveled with me. And after the third day or so, I had to travel by myself. So I really just went to everything.
Was it nerve-wracking?
Yeah, it was kind of nerve-wracking. But like I said, because it was a survival instinct,
Right.
it became less nervous and more, I need to do this so that I don't like get lost or die. If I die and I get lost, right, I am actually lost. So once I get to the school, it's like 8 a.m. I think it's 8 a.m. 8 a.m. Then we will spend the first hour cleaning the school. So the school is like, you can imagine it's the size of 3 shop lots, or 2 shop lots, 3 shop lots, and it's 2 stories. So ground floor and first floor.
Okay.
So the ground floor, there's like 3 rooms, a library, a board games room, and another study room. And then the second floor is the whole tuition area. So there are like a bunch of long tables to sit down on those typical wooden stools and they do the work. So the first hour of the day, hour and a half, would be us cleaning the rooms. So you'll sweep the floor, you'll mop the floor, you clean the toilets, you arrange the books.
Right.
That's what we did. And then around 10 o'clock, 10 to 12, is when we would usually... So there are some preschool kids. So like the ones who are between like 4 to 6, they will come early in the morning for like a bit of like kindergarten.
That's so cute.
So they'll come and then we'll just play with them and also teach them. Then we'll play with the teacher, prepare some materials for the students. And sometimes also we'll do this thing called house visitations. So the parents are urban poor, correct? And they would ask for help, or they would require like financial assistance or food assistance. And so how this organization validates it is that they will go over to the parents' house, they would visit the house, and they would see what it's like and whether this family actually needs help from the government. Right. So that would take about 2 hours, an hour and a half, because what will happen is that you have to walk from the school to the house, which takes about like 20 minutes. And once you reach the house, right, they live in those low-cost apartments. There's like 7 stories tall. 7 stories, there's no lift. You have to walk up every single stairs.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, so one day you visit 2 houses, right? So you go to the top. So one of the houses I went to was, they were on the top of the roof.
Oh
right?
my god.
And there was no actual roof. It was just your typical, all those kampongs with the metal rooftops. Right? So this auntie's mother, she physically built it with her husband. Just like 4 or 5 different like metal bars. They just put the roof there. The toilet is just literally one hole. It's like you would think it's a kampong, but then you realize that you're on the rooftop of a 7-story building.
Wait, so it's not a unit, but they really live on the rooftop?
Yeah, they live on the rooftop. They literally makeshift their way on the rooftop.
Oh my god.
So they got the portable stove, they got their walls is the same thing, metal sheets. It's not even like walls, metal sheets. So they just stay there. Like there's 4 of them sleeping in one small area. So that was the kind of poor that was living in this area lah. Yeah.
Oh my god, that's really like, I cannot imagine it. Like, because when you mention it's like metal walls, like I can't imagine like if the temperature is like really hot or is it really cold. I can't imagine like it really absorbs the. Oh my god, I cannot.
Yeah, Kunming is a city of forever autumn. So the temperature around the whole year is usually between like 21
just
to
nice.
like 15. Yeah. Towards the colder side of it.
Yeah, it's quite cold still, I would say. But I mean, I'm sure, yeah.
So that we're now only at lunchtime, by the way. So you're at lunchtime. At lunchtime, you eat your lunch, and then by 1:30, 2:30, the kids will start coming from school. So they'll start walking, they'll start from the bus, they come to the place, and from like 2:30 to 4:30, the 2 hours is just free tuition. So you sit wherever you want. The kids come down and then they just ask for help with their homework. Not like, how do I do it? But, like, teacher, how, I don't know what to do. Can you please understand? Or the other times, some of the kids who have done their homework already will go down to the library to read books. Or they will go to the board games room and play board games with their friends. So this was pretty much what will happen every day. When they all finish, at 4:30, we'll all leave, and then we will have to clean up again. So we just put up the chairs, clean all the rooms, clean all the books, and then prepare for the next day. Yeah.
Okay. Because it sounds to me that that place isn't actually a school. It's more like a study hall, I would say. Would you say that?
A study hall with events.
Okay.
So there's some weekends where the teachers or the students who volunteer, they will organize their own programs. They create programs like character building or music classes. It's like, for example, Saturday 10 a.m. Okay, we're going to do like a 2-hour workshop on or character building, right? What is hardworking? What is kindness? And then they'll program a whole program. So yeah, I guess it's more like a community hall in a sense, study hall with events hall. Yeah.
Like people because when you said like students they go there like to like do their homework or whatever, but then you also mentioned like some students are already done with their homework, so they just go there to go to the library or play board games. So like, is it like a place where they can like stop by, like, how do I say this, like how are like are their parents working in this time frame while they're there? Is it something like a place they stop by while they're waiting for their parents or something like that? Like what are the main reasons people usually go there, like, essentially?
The main reasons is, I think one of it is correct. Yes, you mentioned it. Parents are working. Parents usually work until 6, 7, right? And these students finish school around 2. So that's 5 hours, 4 hours of free time. And like, one way to, in a sense, help provide a safe space, a good environment is for study halls like this, right? It's like a chill place for the students to come. And it's a good and safe environment because it's by the government. It's a collaboration with the Chinese government, and it's there. Number 2 is also, I guess, it's just to create a community, to really create a safe community where, parents, for example, don't have to worry about the kids running off doing crime because they have 5 free hours after school and their parents aren't at home. Yeah, it's like 5 hours at home as a 9-year-old, 10-year-old. That's like a hazard, like a danger hazard, because a lot of things can go wrong.
That's true. They can run off and do crimes, as you say.
They could be stealing, they could be vandalizing stuff. A lot of things can happen in the more poorer section of the city,
Okay. But because you mentioned also, just to bring up a previous concern, like, because you like, communication was still like an issue by then, right? So how do you like assist students when you like there's a whole like barrier between you?
So usually all what happens is that because my main language is English, I would be the English tutor for the sense, right? So pronouncing words, reading words, how do you say certain words? They ask me like, teacher, how do I say this word? Or teacher, how do I read this sentence? So I'll be the one. Or teacher, what does this English word mean? And then I would translate to them with a dictionary in hand, hey, might as well.
You're like a speaking dictionary at this point.
Speaking dictionary, and yeah, like a friend to them. It's like sometimes they will be like, they are all friends. They're like, hey teacher, can you play with me? Or hey teacher, can I talk to you for a bit? Half the time I don't understand what they're talking about. Right. But yeah, just like they share their story, share their day with me, and it's like, oh, that's nice. And they leave feeling so happy, like someone listened to them. So they might have come from like places where their parents are too busy to listen to them, but they have this older brother in this place where he listens to you. Yeah. So yeah.
That's true. That's true. So like when you like, I guess like when you first signed up for this program, right? Did you come in with like maybe like expectations of your own? And if you did, like how would you compare with like how things really went in that program?
So my expectations were quite high, not of myself. So I went in. Genuinely, the most honest part is I went in, I could say quite proudly, because I thought, hey, I'm going to help these people. I'm going to make videos. I'm going to really, do the best I can in this place, right?
Right.
But when I got there, I realized that actually I can't, because number 1, language was a barrier. Number 2, it's not about how well I can help. It's more about how well I can, assist their needs. Right. So it wasn't about the best way I wanted to help. It was when I went there, so I went in with the expectation of the best way I wanted to help. But also when I went there, I realized that I need to learn the best way that they want help.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, so it's like, a lot of times it's like, you want to fix a problem, you want to solve a solution, right? You're always thinking of, hey, how can I best do this? How can I do the best way I think is correct? But also in this situation, because I'm working with people, it's not about what I can best do. It's about what they really need. So that was the reality that hit me when I was there, and it always hits me like every single time I work with other people or I work with different NGOs, right? It's always not about me, but I need to listen and find out what they need help with so that I can be of their assistance.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's less of like, oh, what can I do, and it's more like how can I fulfill their needs? Is that, would you say that? But I feel like it's a mixture of both, don't you think?
It is a mixture of both. I mean, when you're more in a better position, right? When you can know the language, if you're very aware of the culture, you're very aware of the situation. Then yes, definitely you're able to leverage on your own abilities more. In my case, I mean, it's like I don't really have a lot of leverage here. I don't have a lot of power that I can really put into this, because my entry point is very low. Like, I don't have a lot of ability to communicate. I don't have the best way to like really put into it. So it's like, okay, be more attentive, be more receptive to what's happening around me, so that I don't blindly try and fix a problem or try to invest in something that doesn't really matter to them, kind of thing.
Right. That's true.
Yeah.
So how did you come out, like when the program was done and you back to Malaysia? How did you feel about the program? Like, aside from what you've already mentioned just now, anything else that you've learned throughout your time in China?
I think in China, one thing it's taught me is that to really, I don't mean to be crude, but to not give a crap about what others might think of what you're doing. So in this sense, it's not being like ignorant to the world. It's more of like, if you want to do something, if you want to help the community, if you want to go to a place that no one's been, don't be too overly concerned about what everyone fears for you. If you know what you want to do, in my case, I really wanted to experience a new culture, and at the same time too, I wanted to give back whatever I could, right? And just do it, because it's like when you arrive to that point, at the point of time, the situation when you're in that place, right? Those opinions that people will have of you, they will become like just air.
Right.
So it's like, it's mostly in your head. Once you get there, it's about how you are gonna make a difference. Yeah, that was one of the biggest takeaways. Besides the fact that urban poverty in China is like, wow, very, very different. And it's crazy.
Yeah. I can't imagine. Just like from the way you described it, I was like, that's nothing I've experienced before. Because I've also been to China for a volunteering project, but it's under university. I'm not sure if you heard of Isaac.
Yes, Isaac. Yeah. Right? Yeah.
So I went to China to do that, and like you, I cannot speak Chinese. So like when you said you had troubles communicating with the people, I just had flashbacks of the time where like, but thankfully for me, I had like a host who's always there with me. So when there's like translation needs, they can like help me, because like I guess like my biggest disadvantage is that I can't speak Chinese, and I also didn't grow up in like in an environment that would like expose me to more Chinese speaking people, I guess. So picking up the language was a lot harder for me. So yeah, but your experiences really brought back really fond memories, and I think like your advices as well, it really applies to what I've experienced as well. And I actually do want to hear more about your volunteering experiences outside of Happy Arc, but unfortunately we're running out of time. So before that, I have two things. Happy Arc is still ongoing, correct?
Happy Arc is still ongoing in China.
Right.
Yeah, it is.
But with the current pandemic, I'm assuming there's no opportunity for us to actually.
It's very limited. Actually, no, it's almost impossible.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, considering. But let's say in the future, like things are okay-ish, and then they can, we can go there again. Would you recommend people join this program?
Definitely, 100%. I would recommend to go in a group and to go with an open mind lah.
Right.
Because it's a very eye-opening experience. And especially for Malaysians, you want cooler weather, it's there. You want to experience different culture, it's there. You want to live on a low cost, you can even sleep in the school or sleep in the study hall. Yeah, like literally, it's a cheap, low cost holiday that you get to serve the community. So win for everybody.
That's true. You're like killing two birds with one stone.
Correct,
yeah.
Correct.
Right. So, to end things off, I guess, like I said, I did want to hear more about your volunteering experiences, but we don't have time for that. So, instead, like maybe, do you have like any word of advice to anyone who might, they want to join the social sector and they want to be more involved in the community service, but they don't know, where to start, how to go about it, and what to feel about it. Do you have any advice, on your end?
Yeah, I do. I think the first step for anybody who wants to serve or who wants to find out what's happening in the social sector, right, is to just search it up. Like Instagram, there are so many places that that provides this kind of services. So Heidi Kraft, one of the example, Refuge for the Refugees.
Right.
That's a very prominent place. Like it doesn't only have to be people. It could also be, I think it's called paws. Like if you want to help stray animals, right? That technically serving out to. You search on Instagram or you search on Google just for like NGOs, right? You definitely will find a few. You find the Instagram page, you find their Facebook page, and then if you think like, oh, it's just what they post, how do I know whether it's really something, right? Look for the tag posts. Look for people who have been there, who have written their experiences. Because I tell you, that's the most raw sense that you're gonna ever find out from them.
Right.
That's one thing, right? And the second thing is, getting into these kind of things, right, you don't really need to be a hero. You don't really need to be like someone who's like a PhD or like a doctorate or like, some datuk, to go in and help. Like literally anybody can help as long as you are open-minded enough and you are willing to, in a sense, humble yourself to really serve however they need help with.
Yeah.
I think these two will be the most important because once you have these two in mind, you're informed and you're willing to serve, right? Everything else in helping out in these areas, right, will flow in smoothly.
That's a very beautiful way to say it. You have a way with words.
Yeah.
I will definitely keep that in mind as well, for my own personal, just thinking. Like I said, it's a very beautiful way of saying it. I was just like, whoa. Alright. So,
yeah.
Right. Unfortunately, we've already reached the end of our time, so that's the end of the episode. So thank you so much for joining me with this conversation, and I hope like the listeners find it as beneficial as I did. Before we end things off, do you have anything else you want to say?
I think to close it off, I think for me or for anybody listening to this talk, I think it's a really good experience to serve lah. Also at least at one point of your life to give back to the community. Because I think when you are more in touch with the people around you, you're more aware, right? Especially, if you come from a more privileged background,
right,
you tend to appreciate the things around you way more.
That's true.
So give it a shot. If it's a good or bad experience, don't worry too much. But at least if you've given something a shot, you try something new, right? I guarantee you, 9 out of 10 times, you won't regret. The 1 out of 10 times probably is, something really bad goes wrong. Besides that, it usually almost is a positive experience, or positive learning point. So don't be afraid to try.
That's true.
Yeah.
Alright, so, thank you once again. And I also want to thank our listeners for, joining in. And I hope to see you in the next episode. And that was today's episode. If you enjoyed today's show, please subscribe and leave a review. It would mean a whole lot to us. You can also head over to our website, thundercode.org, to gain access to our free digital resources. See you next time!